In 2076, the NBC division of West Tek achieved breakthrough results in the Pan-Immunity Virion Project. The United States Defense Department, fearing international espionage, moved a military team under the command of Colonel Robert Spindel and Captain Roger Maxson onto the site to secure and oversee the project. This project was now named the FEV, Forced Evolutionary Virus Project. On January 7th of 2077, all FEV research was moved to the newly constructed Mariposa Military Base to commence testing the virus on human subjects. The security team was transferred to the newly constructed base as well to provide protection for the research going on within the facility. However, the soldiers were not informed of the nature of the research, and the horrifying situation unraveled shortly before October 10th of 2077. The soldiers stationed at Mariposa discovered the fact that the scientists under their care were performing experiments with a forced evolutionary virus on military prisoners. The revelation of this prompted a nervous breakdown in Colonel Spindel, who locked himself in his office, which then left Captain Maxson as the only officer to handle the deteriorating situation. Soldiers were screaming for blood, and the whole situation was at risk of devolving into a bloodbath. On October 12th, when Maxson had to step in to prevent one of his subordinates from killing a member of the science team, he ordered interrogations of the science team under his authority of acting commander. Doing this, he hoped to prevent a full-on mutiny by offering his troops a semblance of justice. The first scientist was brought before Maxson a day later on October 13th. Chief researcher Robert Anderson tried to explain that the human experiments in the facility were sanctioned by the US government. He outlined the program to the captain, emphasizing the fact that it was the government that ordered it. When Maxson refused to believe him, the scientist lost his nerve and started screaming on how he was just following orders and that he was a military man just like Maxson. In response, the captain shot him. He rationalized his decision as trying to prevent a full-scale mutiny, but even he didn't believe it. The killing of Robert Anderson effectively established Maxson as the leader of the rebellion. His position was further enforced just 2 days later on October 15th when he attempted to speak to Colonel Spindel through the door of his office. It soon became clear that the colonel had lost touch with reality, so Maxson and several of his men broke down the door just in time to hear the colonel apologize and shoot himself. The subsequent scientist interrogations also ended in executions. On October 20th of 2077, Captain Maxson declared his unit in full succession from the United States over the radio, attempting to force the government to respond to the situation at Mariposa. However, no response came. On October 23rd of 2077, the Great War struck. Spared by the nuclear devastation, Mariposa protected its inhabitants from the nuclear fallout flooding the wasteland. On October 25th, one of the soldiers, Sergeant Plattner, volunteered to take an atmospheric reading outside the base. Reporting no significant amounts of radiation in the atmosphere, final preparations for what is known as the Exodus were taken. Just 2 days later, on October 27th, the former US servicemen and their family left the base under the lead of Captain Roger Maxson, heading for the Lost Hills government bunker in the south.